me? Raise your hand if you can't hear me. Awesome. Cool. So welcome to AUSA's online referenda student forum. My name is Penelope Jones. I'm the returning officer for the referenda, and I'm also the one who will be chairing this meeting. So because this is the first time we are doing an online referenda, I just want to talk a bit about what it actually is, since some of you might not know. So basically, the online referenda is a very easy mechanism for the student body to tell AUSA what it wants. This model has been running really successfully at a lot of other universities. We've actually modelled our one a lot on what's going on at OUSA in Otago, so shout out to them. If you do have any comments or questions about the process, or you want to make some recommendations, come and see me afterwards. I will be writing a report to the AUSA executive. So I guess in a way, it's a bit of a trial because this is our first one. Cool, so basically the process is we had submissions open for 3 weeks. Any student can submit a referenda question. I received 3 questions, all of which were put through to voting. Voting starts next week, so please be aware this is not a forum where you can vote. The purpose of today is so that everyone can be informed about what the questions are, what the pros and cons of each question is, and that's basically the entire purpose. So we'll move on. I just want to make very clear that I'm not going to tolerate any physical violence or any unfair verbal attacks. The first 2 speakers will be, the first speaker for each question will be the proposer, who will be invited to come up. They'll have 5 minutes to speak. We'll then go to the first speaker against the motion, and they'll also have 5 minutes, and then time will be reduced to 3 minutes per speaker. So I'm going to alternate for speakers for and against motions, and this is basically just to make sure that everything is unbiased and kind of neutral. So we'll go through the questions one by one. The first question states, should AUSA lobby for extra seating in Kate Edgar Information Commons Level 0, which is ICO? Is the proposer of this question here? No? Okay. Then I'm going to open the floor. Would anyone like to speak for or against this motion? Yep, come on up.
Hi, I'm Nathan. I'd like to speak against this motion just because I think there's already enough chairs personally.
Cool, thanks Nathan. Have I got a speaker for the motion?
Whenever I go to Kate Edgar in IC0, I'm usually going in a group because I'm going there because I need to work on a group assignment. And it can often be very difficult to find anywhere that is available for enough people to work on that, especially because you need to set up laptops and things like that. So I think that more seating would definitely be needed in order to accommodate that. Even if they were slightly smaller areas, so the chairs, the desks tend to be very, very long, can accommodate maybe like 10 people or so, but you don't need that many people. And if there's already a group sitting there, then it's very strange and very intrusive to sit down next to them and be discussing something completely different. So I think that it would be very useful to have more chairs and maybe a slightly different layout to accommodate that.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any more speakers against the motion? Alright, since there's none, we'll carry on to the next referenda question. Number 2, should AUSA establish a weekly honoraria for its portfolio holders of a sum equivalent to 10 hours at net adult minimum wage after tax, and that this payment be backdated to apply from the beginning of semester 2, 2017. Is the proposer here? Would you like to speak to that?
Cool. Hi everybody. So at the moment the AUSA president and the 4 vice presidents are paid a weekly honoraria which essentially substitutes as a salary. The president is paid for 40 hours a week, the vice presidents are paid for 20 hours a week. As well as those people, the AUSA executive has between 10 and 15 portfolio holders who are other students who are elected. At the moment, those portfolio holders are working for 10 hours a week and are completely voluntary, and the only compensation they receive are in the form of bonuses like gift cards at the end of each semester. Those portfolio holders are the ones who are organising your weeks like Eco Week, Politics Week, Women's Fest. They're the ones running your spaces like Women's Space and Queer Space. One of them is chairing this meeting right now. So they do a huge amount of work that is very important for the ongoing productivity of AUSA. And we think that it is time that we recognise that work and also incentivise people to take on these roles and work really hard at them by being able to offer portfolio holders a honorary equivalent to 10 hours minimum wage a week.
Thank you, Will. Have I got any speakers against the motion? Given there are none, we will move on to the last and final referenda question. So this referenda question reads, should AUSA disaffiliate the pro-life club and ban any clubs with similar ideology from affiliating in the future? Cool. Is the proposer here and would they like to speak to it? Yeah, come on up. So I'd just like to clarify, this is not the proposer. Yeah, so you need to listen. Okay, that's fine. Can I call up Joy from the Pro-Life Club to speak about this? Thank you everyone. If you would like to be added to the speakers list, please come up and see Will Matthews. He's writing down names now. Cool, thank you Joy.
Hi everyone. The motion that brings me here today is one that seeks to punish a legitimately affiliated group on this campus for sharing their point of view in a university that aims to uphold diversity of thought and of opinion. Pro-Life Auckland is a student group advocating for life for all, the unborn, elderly, the disabled, the vulnerable. We put forward our ideas through discussions and flyers and strive to support women through crisis pregnancies and the after effects of abortion. Our affiliation as a student club is valid. AUSA places only the following restrictions on a club's eligibility to apply for affiliation. So the club must allow all students to apply for membership, and 70% of its members and 2/3 of its exec must be Auckland University students, and Pro-Life fulfills all those conditions. Secondly, the affiliation must be decided by AUSA's members through, and I'm quoting here, a fair, transparent, democratic and accountable means with strong consideration to be given to holding an indicative ballot, polling all members for their opinion on affiliation. Now, Pro-Life has been affiliated through such a fair method by the students of this university. There is absolutely no ground in AUSA's constitution for hinting that Pro-Life deserves to lose its legitimate affiliation. This is now the 4th time that our status of affiliation has been challenged. and each time the challenge has subsequently been dismissed by the students as invalid. In 2012, a motion was put forward to disaffiliate us, which students strongly condemned and voted against because all claims are unsubstantiated. This year, the referendum question still has absolutely no response to the question, what has our group done wrong to deserve, or what has our group done to deserve disaffiliation? So I'm going to go into this a bit. Anyone who's come to our meetings will know that nothing we say is hateful or without consideration of the opposition's point of view. Our motivation is to aid and support women. In our speech, we aim to come alongside people and address their concerns. For example, when we stood for hours at our stall on open day, chatting with people about their concerns and responding to their questions. We are strong supporters of open, rational and respectful dialogue. For instance, at our recent euthanasia stall, we were eager to discuss and examine our stances and the stances of those people who walked by, and eager to talk with people who chose to stop by and talk with us. Our club activities have included things like meetings, movie nights with pizza, they were open to everyone, and volunteering at pregnancy centres. We have never been exclusive as a club. So potential claims that any of our actions have diminished the safety or security of the students here don't stand at all and simply astound me as a member of this club, to be honest. Any such claims would be completely unevidenced and cannot be used as grounds to disaffiliate us. If we're being honest, this entire situation boils down to the fact that our opinions are not popular. We know this. Every member of our club knows this. That doesn't mean that our opinions deserve to be depicted as harmful to student welfare here, or that we deserve disaffiliation for them. We do not deserve to be slandered as violent, hateful or extremist just because we attempt to participate respectfully in public dialogue. We do not deserve to be treated as oppressive simply because we're committed to having honest conversations on these important issues. I'd like to ask any of our detractors, have you ever had a conversation with us or spoken with, come to any of our meetings? I would like to wonder why the person submitting this motion didn't seek to discuss his or her concerns with us before resorting to such a drastic method as disaffiliation. I would also like to ask, why are we shying away from peaceful diversity of opinion? Many other affiliated clubs hold point of view which conflict with others, and they, like us, welcome the opportunity to engage with students on the other side of the debate. On this campus, a place where no one should feel afraid to have a voice, there are students who differ from the accepted stance on fundamentally important issues like euthanasia and abortion. There are students who exist on our campus who would like to give these issues another look and to test them on their own merits instead of adopting the accepted stance. Cool. As University of Auckland students, this does not make us more deserving of disaffiliation than any club here. As a peaceful student group, we deserve to have our existence seen as valid by the AUSA and to end this cycle of repeated affiliation. So I strongly reject this motion. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Joy? From the floor, raise your hand if you've got a question. No, thank you, Joy. So we'll move to our first speaker for the referendum question. Thanks, guys. Move to our first speaker for the question, which is Jasmine Prendergast, if you want to come up. Cool, so I'll just remind you, I'll give you the full 5 minutes since you're the first speaker for.
This was impromptu, so lol. The reason why I want to speak for this motion is because even the words pro-life come with a really heavy connotation of a movement that has stood against women and their rights over their bodies for decades. And also, like, I can see a lot of the fans around there, in all honesty, don't appear to have uteruses, and that's really upsetting because no one should ever make a choice like that about someone else's body. And I know you are advocating that pro-life goes beyond just talking about abortion rights, women's rights. But the fact is that the words, and obviously, like, I've seen your stalls, you have little creepy dolls of fetuses. That's evidently the look you're going after, is specifically talking about abortion. And you say you're not a hate group, but your very existence and those words that you use are advocating hate against women, that women have to withstand for decades. And the idea that you think you have any right to dictate over what me, my wonderful sisters in the room, and uterus heaven peoples. Yeah, that is what I want to say, is that you using those words, using abortion like this, it is inherently violent to use that word. And by not saying that, you are trying to distance yourself from a movement you are clearly trying to represent yourself as. So, yeah, y'all are wrong.
Jasmine is open to questions if there are any from the floor. Yep, do you want to come up, shout your question?
So I'm actually a member of the Philosophy Society, and we actually have held a discussion on things like this. The way we do it is an actual genuine discussion. When you use the word pro-life, when you're talking about abortion and such that way, you are alienating like so many people by doing that, because it is a very evocative movement. And like when I hear pro-life, I think crazy Republicans who actually hate women, and and the fact is that we're still struggling to make sure that abortion is legal and safe in this country, so it is not like a tame idea. So yes, I would be way more open if we were talking about like life and death philosophies, like for instance talking like a club that is like very open to talking about euthanasia and abortion in a very philosophical and like legislative sense. But that is not the vibe that I get from the club, especially this like horde of yelling people around.
Are you open to any more questions? I think we might get people who are asking questions to come up and say it on the microphone just for people on the live stream. No, that's fine. So I'll take this person here.
Hi, so my question is why you'd support a ban on like clubs from affiliating if they have a similar ideology, and sort of like what your view on like exactly what a similar ideology would entail.
The wording is a bit awkward, I'll admit, of this resolution, but I think I am open to them having a space on campus, but them being affiliated with AUSA is what is problematic for me, because it allows them access potentially to funding and to having a really open space like within the university, like a very public setting. So like I'm not against anyone who has those views being able to talk about it, but I just don't want them associated with my student union, because they are, in my direct opinion, they are advocating for a movement against my rights. So the fact that they're affiliated is a really hard thing to digest for a lot of people. I'm passionate about our student union, and I want it to be somewhere in our clubs, somewhere that, whilst it advocates for all views, is actually safe and isn't advocating against the rights of like 15%, actually more than 50% of our population at university. So, yeah.
So I'll take one more question if you're fine with that. Yep, that one there.
You say that pro-lifers largely don't have uteruses. I'm just wondering why you exclude and marginalise the voices of women who are pro-life, such as myself. I have a uterus. I have a uterus, and I strongly reject the claim that I'm misogynistic or that I hate women.
I respect that you have that view, and I totally respect that it is your right to not ever have an abortion if you are pregnant. I totally respect that. It is your right. You don't get to make that choice for me. I respect that a lot of women have this choice, and I do respect that it is a lot of the times a religious thing, and I don't ever want to step on anyone's religion in this respect. But the problem with that is that you, by trying to disseminate your views like that, actually hurt my rights. But I also think it is like an individual choice, and it is meant to be largely up to the people with who it actually does affect. And the fact is that the pro-life movement was started, has been carried on, and has been largely propagated by cisgender men. So it is a fact that this movement has not been directed by women, and in fact the pro-choice movement, or I'm just going to use like pro-abortion, anti-abortion, because I think that's more clear what we're talking about. The pro-abortion movements have been the ones run by women, in all honesty, and then the anti-abortion ones have largely been run by religious men, particularly Catholic men. Right, but the movement you're representing is not one purely of women. I totally respect your choice. It is your choice. Your choice. Why you seem very upset that I am dictating this, and I'm sorry that you feel upset, but my uterus, all the uterus having people here who are cheering for me when I speak, you're trying to decide for them. I'm not trying to decide for you. And this is the problem, I think, with the pro-life movement and talk, is that you're trying to decide something for other people. We just want rights to our own bodies. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll move on to our next speaker, which is, I apologise if I butcher this name, Owen Postuma. Cool, so you have 3 minutes.
Before I begin with what I have to say, I must critique this referendum as it stands. The principle of natural justice states that the accused parties should be made aware of any allegations posed against them and be given a chance to reply. The union has made no attempt to relay any such allegations to us. As such, this is not a fair hearing. On top of failing to ascertain what we've been charged with, the union further burdened with essentially giving us only 2 days to prepare our defence. Many of our members work weekend jobs, in addition to assignments and a normal student workload. This is not a fair hearing. You've heard our first speaker focus on the importance of diversity of opinion on this campus. The notion of free speech is at the heart of academia. To hear all narratives and give them a place to be heard is essential to human growth and ethical development. The union ought to protect dissident students from discrimination. They should not be standing by ambivalent to the silencing of dissenting opinions, which is exactly what our learned friends are trying to do today. However, let us be reminded that free speech is at the heart of more than just academia. The union claims it is also committed with its referenda to democracy, as though democracy has a value over and above my rights or your rights. However, democracy is not preeminently valuable or valuable for its own sake. The value of democracy arises from the importance of speech. If we use a seemingly democratic process to silence free speech, we shoot ourselves in the foot by removing the very foundations of our democracy. By failing to recognise these key attributes of democracy, our learned friends would allow a tyranny of the majority. Their view of democracy offers no defence against the atrocities perpetrated by majorities in the past. It would be fine under this model to legislate allowing slavery if the majority voted for it. With this view of democracy, it is impossible to care properly for any minority. We seriously question AUSA's commitment to student representation and ask if they live up at all to their role as a union, as the union for the students. There is contention, there has been much contention, over whether or not they are a public entity on Facebook and other areas. However, that is irrelevant. If they are a public body, they have breached Section 14 and Section 15 of the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act by allowing a motion which would punish free expression of belief. If they are a private entity, they have breached Section 21 of the Human Rights Act by facilitating discrimination of political opinions. This attempted violation of our human rights is not only unjust, but also probably illegal. We cannot stand by and watch human rights be violated. It is not in our nature, even if the union has it in theirs, with their caricature of democracy. Even if the union refuses to do so, we will continue speaking for the speechless.
Owen is open to questions if there are any from the floor. Yeah, come on up and state your question.
Hi. So your beliefs, your pro-life beliefs, would you say they are grounded in religion, or is that, I don't know, something else?
What does religion have to do with this conversation today? It is irrelevant. We're talking about an issue of human rights, and in a time where people used to respect each other for holding alternative opinions. People used to respect each other when someone held a different opinion to someone else. Religion is irrelevant.
Another question? Is there another question from the floor for Owen?
I just wanted to ask, so obviously we're all aware that AUSA is essentially a club for students. It's a broadly speaking, essentially a private organisation for us to represent us. So when you're talking about breaking laws regarding, freedom of expression and rights, I don't really see how that works. This referendum is not to shut down the club. This has nothing to do with that at all. And so I just want to ask why you think that your right to express yourself, which isn't being called into question, is relevant to this proposal, which is actually an AUSA. AUSA questioning whether this group matches its purpose to exist.
The point of this whole motion, which has been to attempt to disaffiliate us, has been to punish us for exercising those rights, for exercising our right to freedom of expression, for exercising our right to freedom of belief, for exercising our right to freedom of assembly on campus. We have been punished for this, and the people are trying to punish us for exercising our rights. That's why it's a rights issue. Thank you.
Cool, thank you, Owen. If everyone's okay with this, I'm just going to quickly explain what affiliation and disaffiliation is. Are there is anyone against that? Cool. Will, do you want to explain what those actually mean in a very unbiased way, please?
Yeah, hi everyone. So basically, a club that is affiliated to AUSA has access to a limited number of services that AUSA offers, including room bookings in the Student Union building, the ability to book things like the stage and these speakers and that barbecue, But more than that, it represents a symbolic acceptance from the student community that they want their student representative group to be affiliated with a particular group or body. If a club is disaffiliated from AUSA, it does not stop that club from being able to meet and speak and distribute things on campus. It is a symbolic representation from the student community that they do not want that group associated with them and their representative body. A disaffiliated club from AUSA is still able to access room bookings and apply for funds from the University of Auckland. The way that they would not be able to do that is if a university body made up of both AUSA and university staff members, called the Club Support Committee, also meets and decides to stop recognising that group as well. So disaffiliation from AUSA does not prevent a group from being able to associate or speak or do whatever they want on campus. It's a two-stage process. Also, acknowledging the online debate around AUSA's legal status, etc. AUSA has engaged a lawyer to provide a legal opinion on that. We're not sure when that opinion will get back, but that will also be published, especially if it affects the outcome of the referendum.
Cool, thanks Will. We'll move to our next speaker for the referendum question, which is Justine, if you're here.
3 minutes, okay. Hi, I'm Justine, and I work for family planning. So I thought that it would be a good time to come and speak. I didn't even know this was on, but anyways, I want to give a shout out quickly to Owen, who gave a really great summary of Philosophy 101. When he goes to Philosophy 202, he might realise there's some holes in his argument, but that's alright. Okay, so yeah, I work for family planning, and I wanted to talk a little bit to what actually pro-life means in practice. I've written a little thing, I'll just get it out. Okay. So I just want to say that I assist referring women every day who come in for terminations, and I know what a hard, arduous, and traumatic process it is. And I also want to quickly say that I believe in freedom of speech, unlike the alt-righters. Do you guys want to give yourself a shout out? I know you're here today supporting the pro-lifers. Good on you. Anyways, so I just want to say I'm pro-life. When I say I'm pro-life, I don't mean I'm anti-abortion. I'm pro-life because I believe in equality, fairness, and justice, and the innate value of every human life, unlike anti-choices. I'm pro-life because I'm a feminist and because I'm a socialist. Anti-choices or anti-abortion activists, whatever you guys want to call yourselves, are not pro-life, they're anti-abortion, and that's as simple as that. Every woman who comes in for a termination, every woman who makes a decision, of what to do with her body, who decides to go on the pill, who makes the hard decision that she doesn't want to carry a child, she has the right as an individual, and it's not your right to tell her what she can do with her humanity and her individual bodily autonomy. If you are personally against abortion, that's whatever. I don't care. I know a lot of people who actually work for family planning who wouldn't individually have abortions, and I respect them. They do not organize politically. They do not try to spread misinformation. They are different to this hateful club. You are not protecting your freedom of speech. You are protecting your right to go out on Dominion Road every Sunday and scream at women while they're going through a fucking traumatic time. That is what you want to do. Now, that's the practical, that's pro-life in practice. Traumatizing women, harassing women, spreading misinformation, making sure that...
What proof do you offer?
Alright. So, yeah, I believe in freedom of speech and I believe in freedom of assembly, and what you believe in is that you have the right to force other human beings to become living incubators for 9 months against their will. You have no respect for women, and you have no respect for our humanity. Anti-choices can't be allowed to organize on this campus. It sends a message to women that their views are more important than our humanity. And so I say to you today that this club needs to be disaffiliated. You guys can meet in dark corners and talk about your weird views, that's fine. But you don't have the right to politically organise when politically organising to you means screaming at women on Sunday on Dominion Road. We see you, we know you, and we know what you're about, really. You know, it's not about freedom of speech. Okay.
Justine is open to questions. I'll take one here.
Very angry white man. Carry on.
I just had a question. You labelled a whole bunch of pretty horrible, sad things about the club that I would probably agree are pretty horrible and sad. But given that none of the members in our club do any of those things you said, does that make us not a pro-life club, based on your definition of pro-life?
I'm not talking about you as individuals or your group in particular. I'm talking about what pro-life politics means practically. What do you mean to organise as pro-lifers? You have to take responsibility for other people that share your views. You guys exist in the same political spectrum, so yeah, I think it's time to reflect properly on that. If you don't agree with that, then maybe it's that's something for you to think about, not me.
Any other questions for Justine? This person here.
Hi, you've said you're a socialist, so let's say someone with an opposing ideology on that, say someone were a young Nat. Do you think that the young Nats should be disaffiliated because you disagree with their belief? What does that have to do with free speech if you disagree with them?
I've already said that I believe in free speech and I have young Nat friends. I think there's an absolute difference between pro-life ideology, which is about harassing women, spreading misinformation and campaigning to get rid of their right to bodily autonomy. So there is a line in the sand that we all draw, and you will learn this in Philosophy 202. That is necessary to have a healthy, functioning society where everyone's rights are affirmed and looked after. So yes, freedom of speech. No, you don't have the right to politically organise on campus to make sure that women don't have the right to exercise their bodily autonomy. And there's a big difference between that and a misguided young Nat.
I'll take one more question from this person here.
Hey, I believe women have a choice with their bodies, obviously, and I hate the people that you hate out on Dominion Road, and I often say to them as well. I believe that a large proportion of New Zealand is still pro-life, and I believe that if you come into campus and you're only given one view, the view that I believe is right and you believe is right, I don't think that's good, and I think that we should have not something that is associated with the pro-life group as a group that should be representing this movement, but a more moderate group which expresses their views on behalf of the society that we live in as a whole, so that university doesn't become so secluded as a place where you can't actually practice freedom of speech and get the whole, make decisions for yourself.
I just want to affirm what you say. It's very important to have debate. I don't think we should shut views out. I think Penny and Will have talked to what disaffiliation actually means, and we as a student community, and supporting those groups on campus and allowing them to book rooms and having resources from AUSA. So that's very different to saying they don't have the right to organise, or they are going to do that regardless. What we're saying as a student community is that we have a lot of young, vulnerable women in our community. It's 18 to 24. That's the age range. I can tell you. Again, I work at family planning, and that they don't need to be continually presented with false information, with propaganda, and to be guilted. And this is it's like large-scale emotional abuse what the pro-lifers engage in. It really is. It really, really is. So debate. Let's debate. But when their whole ideology is based on lies, misinformation, propaganda, and patriarchal ideology, I have a problem with that. I will stand here. I'm here today to debate them, right? But I don't believe that AUSA should affirm their views, because AUSA represents students, and students are women, and women get abortions.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not going to allow questions to be used as another means of debate. Cool. Thank you, Justine. So we'll move on to our next speaker, but just before we do, A reminder, if you would like to speak either for or against this referendum question, we do have a speakers list. You can sign up by coming to Will Matthews just over here. So our next speaker is Saeed, if you would like to come up. Awesome, I'll just remind you, you've got 3 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For those of you who do not speak Arabic, that means may the peace, blessings and mercy of God be upon all of you. And just before I do speak my main points, I'd like to bring up the very important question, are we an anti-abortion group? If we were just an anti-abortion group, we would not be focusing on euthanasia. We're not an anti-abortion group, we are a pro-life group. We value the sanctity of life. And another thing I'd like to point out is a lot of people have misconceptions about what we represent and who our main demographics are. You don't have to be white, male and a Christian in order to be a pro-life person. Me personally, I'm a Muslim. I know other people from other religions, even secular people in the pro-life club. And they can be women as well, not necessarily just men. And we have to clear misconceptions about what we represent. Is freedom of speech. One thing that's really important about us is the fact that we have a right to speak due to the fact that we have freedom of speech. We pass all the categories of the people who are qualified for freedom of speech. We do not attack anyone, we do not physically assault anyone, we do not coerce anyone, and we do not spread any ideology advocating the harming of other people. Rather, what we actually do is we want to have these philosophical discussions. We want to have debates about morality. And moving on, the number one thing which bothers me about this whole referendum is the fact that similar ideologies could also be banned. Since the pro-life group upholds the sanctity of life, I would like to ask all of you, does that mean any other religious group, any other potential group which holds pro-life views, are they also going to be subject to this? That's the one thing that we must all really think about. So, the main point I'm trying to get across is that we're not just an anti-abortion group, we are a pro-life group. And we are not coercing anyone. We just want to state our views, we want to have discussions, and we want to be open with people. So does anyone have any questions?
My question is, so you say that you do not coerce, you do not do all of these negative things. They are all actions that are heavily associated with the pro-life movement in general. I'm not just talking about the pro-life movement on campus. I mean, the worldwide pro-life movement has been known to be violent and be coercive and be really harmful to a lot of people. Why is it that you feel that your particular arm of pro-life, same name, is not associated with all of the negative connotations?
Has anyone here heard of ISIS? The attacks they carry out in the name of Islam? Is every Muslim like an ISIS? Likewise, there might be other people in the pro-life, other people in this ideology. In this other ideology who might have extremist views, who might coerce people, but we do not. We stand up for pro-life, which literally means upholding the sanctity of life. We do not force other people, we're open to discussion. Yeah. Any other questions?
So the way I see it, when you advocate pro-life, you're advocating against the rights of women. So do you believe that other groups should be allowed to advocate against the rights of, for example, maybe religious groups, maybe other people? Because that's how I see it, what you're doing.
We are not advocating against the rights of women. We are advocating for the life of the child who is inside the woman.
I'll take one more question if there is one. Yep, Justine.
If you mean by advocating for the right of the baby inside the woman, you mean that women should become living incubators for 9 months. Is that correct? So that's what you believe in?
We don't see them as living incubators. Could you repeat that on the mic? I couldn't hear you.
If you were to be successful and pro-life laws were passed and women weren't allowed to get abortions, they would be forced to carry a baby against their choice for 9 months. That means they would be living incubators against their will for 9 months. Is that what you believe?
We believe they have the responsibility of raising the child inside their womb. But we do not believe they are living incubators. In the same way that a parent raising their child outside the womb, they're not an incubator either.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone to please listen and engage respectfully when the speaker's speaking. Our next speaker is Isabel Cohen, if you're here.
Hi, I want to apologize before for my question. It was a bit sneaky of me trying to bring another point to the discussion when I should have been just responding to the actual speech. So sorry about that before. My point was that oftentimes pro-life is very much embedded in people's religion. Not always, but oftentimes, and it's definitely very much embedded in people's morality, their core morality and what they believe is right and wrong. And I respect that. I absolutely do respect that. But what that means is that oftentimes these beliefs, these pro-life beliefs, are forced onto other people's, like, this is my morality, this is what I believe is right, and therefore what you have done, because you don't know who has gotten an abortion, you don't know who is thinking about it, you don't know who knows somebody who's got one, you don't know whose partner is trying to pressure them into getting one, you don't know what is going on in someone's life. And when you tell somebody that pro-life is murder, when you show them a little fetus and you try and get them to hold it, and you don't know what their life is, you don't know if they have had, they were on medication, and it means that their baby will be, will suffer horribly, and they know that if they carry this baby to term, that it will probably be in pain when it's born. You don't know who knows that their baby has Tay-Sachs, and that the baby will probably live painfully until like they're 5, and then they'll die. And so yeah, they choose to have an abortion because of that. You don't know, and when you tell somebody that they are fundamentally wrong by showing them these things, by telling them these things, then I do think that is, that is abusive, that is harmful for people. And so I think that, having that and pushing that in people's faces is very, very difficult. When it has to do with someone's morality like that, it is a difficult discussion to have. And I think that it's not really something that AUSA should affiliate with when there isn't a pro-choice group. I don't think that something that is that people get that angry about should be something that AUSA is affiliated with.
Thank you. Are you open to any questions? Careful. Yep. Are there any questions from the floor? That's all right. Come up and state your question.
Hiya. So I was just wondering, you mentioned the fact there's no pro-choice on campus. So I'm a first year, so I don't know much about anything. But I was just wondering, if you guys got pro-choice life on campus affiliated with the AUSA, would you guys think there was more of an evening balance? So therefore you guys can have more of a civilized discussion on the same level if you got a pro-choice life? Because I'm just saying, you guys have one opinion, you guys have the other. Maybe if you guys got a pro-choice group affiliated with AUSA, it would even it out. So do you guys think they'll end the whole situation about this?
That's a very good question, thank you. Personally, I believe that if there was both a pro-choice group and a pro-life group on campus, they would have events across from each other on the same day and start throwing things at each other. So I personally don't think that would be a great idea, even though in theory it would even out things. But again, I think that this is something that is so deeply embedded in people's morality that it is, I personally don't think that AUSA should be affiliated with that sort of level of violence and anger and hatred. Yes.
Yep, I'll take another question from someone who hasn't spoken. This person here.
Are you saying that people are too stupid to have civilized discussions about this? And also, why don't you start your own pro-choice group? What's stopping you from doing that?
Thank you for that. Your first question, I don't think that people are too stupid to have civilized discussions. Of course not. We are having one right now. But I do think that, especially when you get large groups of people do get very emotional. And as I said, you don't know what someone's gone through. It can be very personal for somebody. So I still think that it is something that is. It can be quite abusive when you throw something at somebody. When you're talking about those kind of deep moralities. And for the second. I have heard that there has been some throwing happening, but that's for someone else to discuss. For your second group, what's stopping me from creating a pro-choice group? I think that I have already answered that in the question before me, that I don't believe that pro-choice and pro-life is something that AUSA should be affiliated with, because it is so grand in morality. I think I have already said that, and not planning on starting one.
Yep, I'm open to one more question from this person here. Just a reminder, the speakers list is getting quite full. Unless you have a burning desire, you might want to run up and add your name now.
Hey, how's it going? I want to talk about a topic that was talked about recently, which is a question that was asked about if a young Nat had a stall, would it be wrong for him to oppose, say, a socialist view? The person who responded said that no, it's fine for the young Nat to be there because he's not doing what pro-lifers have done, which is abusing and spreading misinformation. So it seems like the reason that pro-life shouldn't be on campus is because of the whole misinformation and abusing and harassing. That's the reason that their argument is there. But we haven't seen the evidence that pro-life, the group or community, has done anything like that. So basically, that point doesn't apply to them. So the other point they brought up was, well, other pro-lifers in the rest of the world have done a lot of abuse, therefore because they're related to it, we should ban them as well. So my question is, say for example if there was a pro-choice group that started and they were completely nice and not offensive or harassing, but somewhere else in the rest of the world someone was a pro-choice group who did some harassment, should the pro-choice group here, which is peaceful, be banned just because someone else did something wrong? Or should we, why do we have to affiliate those two forms of that discussion or of that topic?
Yeah, very good question. My opinion may differ somewhat from other people's. I think that if people are being respectful, then that might be okay. I'm willing to be persuaded on that though. But I have heard, I'm not going to present this as evidence myself because I'm personally have not witnessed it, but you will hear it later. Some issues of things that some people in the pro-life club on campus have done. But I'll wait for them. I'll let them talk about that. I think that respectful discussion should be fine though, but I'll let somebody else present that evidence though of people on campus being disrespectful and violent towards others, because that's not my thing.
Awesome, thank you. Move on to our next speaker. Favour? Yeah, come on up.
Hey guys, so my name's Favour. Yeah, I just want to talk about the fact that this comes down to a toleration of diversity of free speech, diversity of thoughts and beliefs and actions. You know, when you're coming to university, right, and you see all those posters and they always have the standard, like, one person looks like me, another person looks like, it's like, it's about inclusivity, it's about allowing people to have a difference of opinion. And so it's a free speech society. That's what we're built on. It's a democracy that we have. And yeah, I don't think it's fair because someone has a different view or different thought or comes from a different place to actually disengage with those conversations, to actually go up there and talk to those people. It's just not, yeah, it's not fair. Like, we're not advocating for people getting hurt. We're not advocating for people doing different things. We're speaking our point of view, and we have the right to free speech. And your right is to listen to it or not. That's pretty much what it is. We are. And so, yeah, and also, another thing is, yeah, and when we come to university, right, we have, you know, very different ideas, very different things given to us, presented to us by lecturers and different forums and different speakers. Why can't pro-life be one of those things? So, and a disaffiliation from the student union, even though they can continue to do the things they were going to do before, that is a symbol, like some people were saying, it's a symbol of the university or AUSA not supporting a group that doesn't necessarily have the popular opinion. So that's what it is. It's pretty much, it's not the fact that you can't keep doing what you're doing, it's the fact that we're disaffiliated with the student union. Like, what does that look like? You know, it's a symbol, it's a showing that we are not accepted for the views that we have. And so I think that, yeah, we are a university, we pride ourselves in diversity here in New Zealand, we pride ourselves in diversity at the University of Auckland, and that includes all types of diversity. Diversity of speech, diversity of beliefs, everything. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Favours open to one question. Are there any questions from the floor? Yeah, come on up.
What proposed limits to free speech would you propose, especially with reference to the fact that most clubs have quite a lot of control over controlling speech within the club itself?
So if I understand your question correctly, what limits to free speech are you asking? Yeah, I think, yeah, I think in terms of free speech, I mean, I think that there is a duty on the, I guess, the speaker to present that speech in a non-aggressive manner, to talk about it. So what I'm talking about is not like advocating for people to, I don't know, say wrong things or to, you know, say kill children or whatever. No, what I'm saying is that we should have the right to be affiliated with AUSA. We should have the right to speak our thoughts. We should have the right to present the evidence. We should have the right to do that. And so, in terms of free speech, like, yes, we have free speech, but the free speaker also bears the consequence of that free speech. So we have a right to speak, but, you know, just because somebody's speaking doesn't mean that you have the right to, you know, take what they have on board. You have a right to listen to what they say, to be respectful, and to walk away if you want to walk away. But that speech is allowed to be there. And I think there should be a limit on, like, promoting random stuff. But we're saying that we are not doing that stuff. We're not promoting violence, we're not promoting all that kind of stuff. We're promoting a different point of view. That's pretty much what it is. It's a different point of view. And we would love to engage with people, to listen, to have conversations, to actually talk about these things intellectually. It's not necessarily coming from a religious point of view, it's coming from an electoral point of view. We have actual evidence, we have things we want to say. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. So we don't want any hate, we don't want to hate on people. You know, everybody's, you know, we really believe in the sanctity of life and everybody's opinion is valid, but we want our opinions to be validated as well. So, yeah. Cool.
Thank you, Favour. move to our next speaker for the referendum question, Libby Atkinson.
Hey guys, I just want to talk a little bit about how your club operates. You say, as you said before, you said you were pro-life, so you weren't anti-abortion, you were pro-life. So what do you do for the kids after they're born? Like, you're advocating for these kids to be, these babies, to be taken to term and given birth to. Of course, that's fine. But what are you doing to support the young women who are then having to look after that child as a pro-life stance? Like, what are you going to do? Like, I go out and I fundraise for young families who are on dole or something. Like, if your club was doing something like promoting fundraising for young families or for poor families or for just anyone who needs it, these young children that you want to be born, then that would be a pro-life group, and that's awesome. But you're not. You guys are using gory posters, you're using biologically inaccurate representations of fetus at your rallies, and I don't know, it just doesn't sound like pro-life to me. I'm pro-choice, I'm pro everyone having their own opinion. You're welcome to feel exactly as you do. You can, if you're pro-choice, you just do whatever you want with your own uterus. But if it's not your uterus, I don't know.
Libby is open to questions. Is there a question from someone who hasn't spoken yet? Yeah, come on up.
Hi, does raising $1,000 for a solo mother count as being pro-life?
Well, that's a step towards it. Like, being pro-life is supporting the life of the child you've had brought to term. So if you guys have done that, that's awesome. But that's one tiny thing when everything else you're doing. Thank you, Rick, over there. But I know if you're going to continue doing that with your club and continue supporting young people who have had their kids, and like not just one little person who's also pro-life, anyone who's had to, sorry, I'm mucking up my words, I know, I have anxiety, I get nervous, but that, like, if you're going to continue, change how your club operates, stop the fear-mongering, stop the gory photos, stop the inaccurate, like, fetuses, like, if you do that, then it's okay. You're allowed your opinion, I'm allowed my opinion, everyone's allowed their opinion. And if you guys work towards that and make it much more about supporting young people who've had to have kids, then I think that'd be a better group.
Thank you. Connor, do you want to come on up?
Hi Justine, I would like to apologise if I sounded overly violent in the way I talked. I really didn't mean to, I just got emotional at homs. And furthermore, I would like to invite her to come and talk to me and fill the, I think it's 345, Power, Critique and Emancipation. We can do discourse ethics, critical theory, and a vegetarian feminist critique. I would love to. I've actually read the book and I actually know what it says. I do, and I am open to any argument you may have. If you want a genuine discussion on ethics, I'm more than happy to become pro-choice if you convince me and you talk to me. I'm happy to take every single member of my club with me and help you. But I believe firmly in discourse ethics and ethical discussion. Now, pro-life has had its ideology strawmanned. Our ideology is predicated on one ethical principle and one only: to have humility about when to take a life. Opposing similar ideologies is a direct referendum on whether we are to oppose
humility as to whether we have the ability to take lives.
This is not a question in our ideology of just opposing one single issue. This is a question of opposing a philosophical, ethical stance that has humility about taking lives and doesn't think it's trivial. AUSA also states in Section 7 of its Constitution that it is their duty to foster and further the educational life of members of the association. Members of our group are part of this association, yet they show no commitment to the free speech of these members. Free speech, a human right, like rights to bodily autonomy that you stand to defend. But the They may claim otherwise, but this deplatforming, because it's not a question of affiliation, it's a question of disaffiliation, is not in line with their supposed commitment to their lives and the rights of these human beings in the club. I'm open to any and all questions, thank you.
Do you think like any group should be able to exist on campus regardless of their beliefs? And if not, then please explain why.
Right, so the position I subscribe to on free speech is I subscribe to a position on fighting words, but I actually have a more left wing than the Americans do in terms of my interpretation. So fighting words constitutes speech that leads to having literal violence, right? But there's all sorts of like absurd, weird ways this can happen. If you want, it's actually really hard to legislate on, is the problem with free speech. So as long as the group doesn't advocate violence, like for its members and instigate violence with fighting words, then yes, but it's a far more complicated question than this.
I just have a question. So you guys say you're pro-life, right, in all forms. What about the thousands of women who die all across the world due to backstreet abortions because it's illegal in their countries and they can't get safe help? What about those lives? Do those lives matter less than an unborn fetus?
We can discuss this at length if you would like to. I'm showing my dedication to free speech. These are complicated issues. You shouldn't take ethical stances on a whim of a single point.
You guys keep using this free speech argument. We aren't, as it was explained by Will, we aren't taking away your right if we disaffiliate you. We aren't taking away your right to talk about your issues and what you want to talk about. No, hold on. Let me ask my question. We're not taking away that right. What we want is we don't want to approve what you are trying to advocate for. That is what disaffiliation means. So all of your points that everyone has made has been redundant. Just that.
I understand, and I understand your points on free speech, and I understand points on free speech and discourse ethics. Now, the claim is not so that you are taking away our right to have any and all forms of free speech. But this is the same as saying an oppressed, impoverished set of people have the same right to free speech as the people who own the media. This is the type of position you are stating right now.
Awesome, that's your 3 questions. Thank you, Connor. We'll now move on to Gowan Ditchburn.
Kia ora. So, people might know me, I'm from the Socialist Club. If someone said louder. And there's something I just want to point out, of course, here. This isn't a question about whether they can be a club here at the university or not. They can still be a club and still be affiliated to campus life. There are many clubs who are only affiliated to campus life. Our club, the Socialist Club, is only affiliated to campus life. We can still organise, we can still put up posters, you've probably seen them, you're probably sick of them. We can still do our weekly stalls, we're here all the time, you can't get rid of us, even though you want to. And we still have our debates. You can still come and talk to us. I've seen probably a few of you who've already spoken for the... Yeah, exactly. You know, I've had debates with you. You can still come and talk with us. You still have a platform. You still have your free speech. Your free speech is not being denied. All that is changing is whether or not AUSA is saying you represent sort of what they have or what we want as a student body. And there's the question there, should AUSA say the student body wants this issue? Do we endorse this position? You can still have your club, you can still be here, you can still talk and debate whatever you want. But the question is whether or not AUSA should endorse the pro-life position by saying that this club is our club as a student body. And I say no, that we should not take these positions. AUSA should not take such a position. You can still be a club, you can still debate, you can still come here. All clubs can do this. Young Nats can do it, Young Greeks can do it, we can do it, and you can do it. But at the same time, they should not specifically say that AUSA stands by and gives support to, through the services, one particular side of the debate. And that's what I said.
Yep, I'll take questions. Is there someone who has a question who hasn't spoken? Yes, come on up.
Two questions. Two quick questions. First of all, why isn't the Socialist Club part of the AUSA? Also, secondly, shouldn't the AUSA be like impartial, so therefore not take a side?
So just to make the first point clear, we're not affiliated with AUSA. We are a club, we're affiliated with Campus Life. If AUSA disaffiliates the Pro-Life Club, they will still be affiliated with Campus Life, they will still be an official university club, they will still have the right to organise, the right to do their stalls, and the right to book rooms and hold debates on this campus. So for all intents and purposes, they still have the exact same platform they had before, with the exception of University AUSA building. And as for impartiality, why should they be impartial? They're a student union. I mean, if they affiliated the Bash the Unions Club, that would be kind of stupid, if you ask me. I mean, they're meant to represent the interests of students. Therefore, they should be biased towards presenting what they believe and what we vote, because we vote for them, what we want to represent us. So if we say, and this is what's happening, we get a choice to vote on this. If we say this view, this club, is not what we want our student body to endorse, we can do that. And that is okay. If they were, however, and this came up last year, if it was a total ban by the university, then I would be against it, okay? If it was them banning pro-life entirely from the campus, that would be a completely different matter than the one that is before us.
Thank you. Are you open to another question? Yeah, I'll take you over here. Here we go.
Hi, so I came here as quite a neutral party, and I'm just kind of observing as kind of like, I just came to observe to learn more about this matter because I wasn't sure how this came about and stuff. And I'm just hearing a lot about, I've heard a few people make comments about religion in this. And as the president of a religious club, we've actually had real difficulty with not being affiliated before, and I was just wondering, where do you draw the line? Like, does this now go into a problem with religious clubs being affiliated? Because I've used things through AUSA that really helped our club, and I'm really worried that if religious groups can't become affiliated, if that's going to disenfranchise us in the future.
So I just want to make the point, of course, that this is not a religious club we're dealing with here. And of course, religions do get treated differently in legislation and are treated differently in society from political groups. And we are not dealing with a religious group at this moment. And I see no reason why a religious group shouldn't organise for people of that faith, and that is fine. What is different is when you're saying, we, as a club, promote this view, this specific sort of view, that is not sort of as part of a more holistic theory, which of course religion is more holistic, it has various things. And as well, just go back to the other point, all religious groups can still be affiliated through clubs, campus life. You can still be a club and not be AUSA affiliated. So I don't see why there is this fear, or so there's this disaffiliation, when you still have your platform, you still have your right to organise, you still have your room to do things. I mean, you know, we have loads of clubs here on campus, and this isn't actually getting rid of a club at all.
I'll take one more question. Yeah. Just stand away from the speakers.
One point you made was that AUSA is supposed to represent what the student body believes, but you're totally discounting the fact that part of the student body is pro-life?
Actually, I didn't discount that. I said we get to vote on it to decide whether or not AUSA should endorse this view, and that is the question. What if there was only a pro-choice club? What if there was only a pro-choice club and they didn't want to move to disaffiliated on the basis that, oh, you know, just because some people are pro-choice? It's whether AUSA is endorsing this by saying, we explicitly support this club. They can still be a club, but do we want to have specific issues that are controversial within the student body given one endorsement?
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Is Francesca Ewan here?
Firstly, in response to the previous speaker, we want this platform. Pro-life students are a part of who the AUSA represent. We want their endorsement. We want your endorsement. I would like to answer some of the claims made against our club. So, first of all, some of the things that it was claimed that we do, throwing things, we would never do that. We are a completely peaceful, non-aggressive club. We are really just here because we truly care about people and we actually want to help people. The claims about misinformation and inaccurate fetuses, our fetus models were given by the embryology department, and any claims about misinformation is completely unsubstantiated. We have never ever given or shown any gory photos to anyone. And we definitely do not try to spread fear or hate among anyone. We're completely non-violent. We just like to facilitate peaceful discussion, and we really are here to hear the opinions of anyone who wants to speak to us about these issues. What we do, we have been trying to set up a scholarship for solo mothers. We're still in the process of putting this together. We have been fundraising for it. Our club offers volunteer opportunities. So over the previous years, students from the Pro-Life Club will go to various pregnancy help centres to help, and also centres where people have taken in children whose parents haven't been able to support them. We go there and help with a working bee or support them generally throughout the year. The volunteering we have is at pregnancy help centres such as the one in the city. We've been planning later in the semester to go out there and volunteer, and our plans have been slightly disrupted by this disaffiliation attempt. And then of course we discuss, and we're always open and rational about this. We want to bring this back to the core issue. We're being targeted by the majority because of our ideas. This is absolutely inconsistent with free speech. As a peaceful club, we don't deserve this. Out in the real world, we're exposed to these differing opinions, whether they be pro-life or pro-choice. Why should we be sheltered now? And finally, I find it demeaning as a woman to be told that I am too gullible for debate, or I can't be trusted to make my own decisions unless opposing voices are shut out. Thank you.
Francesca is open to questions, but they must be directly related to what she just said now. Are there any questions on that? Who hasn't spoken? Have you spoken? Yeah, come on up.
Oh, that's loud. I was just wondering, you say that the club has never put graphic imagery anywhere or thrown things at people, but I have not only seen it myself, but I've also had a couple of people say they've had during a week a variety of things, not either tossed at them or in their general direction, and very, very graphic images of not necessarily things outside the body but inside, and that kind of makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And I just wanted to see how you can say a completely untrue statement and claim it to be fact.
Sorry, can I just ask, whenabouts did this happen?
So I remember pretty vividly in my first or second year there were an absolute butt ton of posters in the library basement covering every single wall of fetuses in various different states.
It wasn't an X-ray. I promise you, and I'll find the photo.
Sorry, do you consider photos of a human at its earliest stages to be gory?
Sorry, guys.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Conversation.
Yeah, that would be good.
You open to any other questions?
Cool, our speaker's open to one more question. Is there one?
From what I heard from what you were saying about the activities at the club, that actually is very impressive, and I'd like to congratulate you for that. But I did want to ask, if you were to be disaffiliated, would that prevent any of those activities that you're currently undertaking if you didn't have access to AUSA?
I don't think that it would affect the club right now, but it could affect getting new members in the future in order to continue the work that we've been doing.
Okay, we're going to have one last speaker, then we'll move to a right of reply by the proposer if they wish to speak. Isabel Lloyd?
Hey guys, I'm not usually used to public speaking. So basically what I wanted to say is, I get where the pro-life group is coming from, and I'm not here to throw shade, okay? Let's keep this political, let's not make this personal. Okay, you guys, you have your own opinions and you're allowed to talk to them on a public forum, and I'm grateful that I'm up here talking about my opinions. But basically this debate I don't think is about the moral efficacy of pro-life or pro-choice. This debate is about whether you are allowed to have this club around. And so, what you guys are doing, you guys aren't starting a club that's about a passion or a hobby. You guys are putting yourselves out there and you're opening yourselves up to criticism. And in the same way that it's your democratic right to start a club and start debate and start dialogue, which is good, it's our democratic right as a community to come together and say that's not what we want to represent our university. We don't want that on the forefront. Hey, we haven't even voted yet. Maybe some people will vote and you will be allowed in. We don't know yet. I'm just saying we have to respect each other's right to debate this and decide what we as a university stand for. And if we decide that we don't want you to be in the AUSA, then that's our university speaking. And that's all I have to say. Yeah, go for it.
Hi there. I'm just wondering where the line is. So if groups can't be affiliated because, you know, the the university itself is saying we don't want to align with this. What happens when you go out in the real world? It's kind of like a bit of a, doesn't quite make sense. Yeah?
And I'm here to say that that's not mine to decide. That's the community's choice to decide. That's why we're having this debate. I'm not here to say whether you're allowed to have a pro-life group or not. I'm just here to say that we have to respect the community's decision. Okay? Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Hey, I understand. There's actually like this thing where a lot of people think democracy has value in and of itself, but free speech is actually prior to democracy, right? Like, consider, for example, National has a referendum, should we ban the Green Party or any party with similar ideologies from running? Now, any public entity is bound by this. AUSA is not quite a public entity, but it still has obligations as a union, which is why I found the socialist guy's positions weird. I'll help the socialist re-affiliate if he wants to. But like, there is, like, why do you consider democracy to be a value in and of itself before the ability to speech and before deplatforming?
It's a tricky question. I've got a bit of time to think about it. Well, basically what I'm trying to say is, like, this isn't about whether democracy is good or bad. I'm just saying that, you know, if the student body doesn't want you representing them, like, sorry, it's a tricky question, man. Pardon? What was the question again?
Yeah, cool, thank you. So that's the full speakers list. Thank you to everyone who's contributed. We do have a right of reply to the person who has submitted this referendum question. If you would like to speak and you are the proposer, feel free to come up now. Sorry, you're not the proposer. Okay, given that the proposer does not want to utilise their right of reply, I thought I'd just open it up. If there are any process questions that you want to ask AUSA, anything about the Constitution, anything about the motions, whatever, now is your time. Please remember that voting starts next week. It's going to be online and we'll be using OrgSync, so you will have to sign in through your SSO authentication. So it'll open at 9 AM on Monday and close at 4 PM on Friday. You'll be able to access it through our website, so www.ausa.org.nz/referenda. It is on our Facebook event as well. If you are a AUSA Life member, obviously you can't use OrgSync, so we'll be setting up a polling booth at AUSA reception for you guys. If there's any process questions, we'll take them now.
Hi, I was just wondering, like, what's the sort of screening criteria for a referendum question?
Yeah, so the Constitution sets out, I think, 6 criteria for by which a question can be not accepted. I'm just going to call them up. We've also had questions about how legitimate votes will be counted in illegitimate votes. So the answer to that is when you vote, it records your student ID number and we have to compare that against our membership list so we can confirm that only AUSA members are voting. Okay, so the criteria by which a question can be declined by the returning officer are if it is frivolous, contrary to the Constitution, unfair in their effect on individual persons, biased or leading, or substantially similar to another question that has already been received. So we've had a number of questions about how this specific question relates to the parts of the bits that are contrary to the Constitution and biased or leading. And like I said earlier, we have engaged a lawyer to provide us with advice on whether they consider that question to be acceptable under those rules.
Any other questions about the process? If you don't feel comfortable asking, you can always email me at seo@ausa.org.nz. Otherwise, I think we'll close the meeting. Thank you to everyone who's attended. It's really great to see hundreds of you out here having open and frank discussion and debate. And it's something we haven't quite seen for a while. So thank you. Don't forget to vote next week. And obviously, I'll be sticking around if you do want to talk to me personally.